Crazy Pixel.
I've been following the Higurashi When They Cry Ho series ever since Manga Gamer released the very first chapter, yet I was a bit afraid that my expectations would be way too high for the latest chapter released in the West. That said, I found myself really enjoying reading through the chapter. I'm Brad Crespo and this is Noisy Pixel's review of Higurashi When They Cry Ho, Chapter 7 Minagoroshi, written by Lynn Carmella. Before we get started, this review contains heavy spoilers as it's the 7th chapter out of 8, so just a little bit of a warning for you. The story takes place right after the events of Chapter 6, in which Keiichi was actually able to remember something about his past. With this, even though things ended up in a disaster for the world in Chapter 6, Rika finally got the motivation to change her fate, and thus, another loop started in a whole new world. In this chapter, a new character, Hanyu, gets introduced. Although nobody can actually see her beside Rika. While Rika is trying to survive, that's not her only goal, as she wants to be happy with all of her friends as well. Higurashi When They Cry is by no means just a horror series. Something I really love about the series is that it actually takes its time to build up its characters, making the reader get immersed with the author's world before the frightening things start to happen. That said, this chapter has a bit of a different story, as it's a story of friendship that you can't help but love. As usual, there is the option to switch between the original sprites and the updated ones from Manga Gamer. It's clear by now that the visual novel series has had excellent writing, and with Chapter 7, that's no different, as the writing is good. So good that it made me tear up, regardless of a few events that repeated a little bit too much. Chapter 7 does a great job of explaining and answering the many mysteries that happened in the previous chapter. I was satisfied with the many reveals in this chapter as they were totally unexpected. This chapter feels like the climax of the series, which will have you impatiently waiting for the next chapter of the series, which is actually the last one. The only thing that I could kind of count as a downside is that sadly, Manga Gamer didn't get the rights for the artwork and voices of the PS2 version, which is a remake of the original game. That said, the sprites are pretty, but the backgrounds are really blurry looking. Thankfully, Manga Gamer made the game moddable on purpose, so players can tinker with things like the backgrounds if they so choose. In the end, after my journey with Chapter 7, I'm so excited for the next and last chapter, Chapter 8, to come to the West. Noisy Pixel is giving Higurashi When They Cry Ho, Chapter 7 Minagoroshi a 9.5 out of 10. Thanks for watching. You can read our full review at noisypixel.net. Noisy Pixel is run by a group of gamers who work hard to deliver news, reviews, previews, and more. Please subscribe to keep up with all of our future content.